What's goody to any and everybody who may be listening? Okay, we're going to be talking about how they use sex as a weapon. Okay, and when I say they, I'm talking about this draconian society, these wild animals, and for which this brotherhood is a part of that society. But these savages, these individuals are the carriers of not only colds and flus and bacteria and viruses and all sorts of things of this nature, but that HIV, AIDS, and things of this nature stems directly from them. And then when you throw in that old Bible, when you add into the mix that Bible and got individuals out here not loving themselves, got individuals out here looking at other motherfuckers instead of being inside of their own bodies. You got these men out of control thinking they doing something and ain't. Okay? You got these women just lost and stupid. Okay, thinking that the Most High, the Creator, is a man, when this is a autonomous being that is androgynous. And let me tell you something about the feminine function at higher levels. Okay, you bitches down here up in that's down with this draconian shit are in the way, but there's no worries because I'm finna run you bitches over with a motherfucking Mack truck. Now, let me tell you this process. Now, outside of this simulation, okay, because this is a simulation fostered by Archons, okay, and outside of this simulation, we are not bodies. We are not physical bodies, okay? We are light. We are source fractals. Okay, now what these Archons have been doing is like trapping fractals, and I'm talking about the younger ones too, particularly the younger source fractals, into these nets. Now, the amount of fear that is generated through this is what allows them to absorb that energy, the energy of the Most High, and transform that net into a ship. Okay? Now, there's always this entity, this incubus on that ship, and he goes by the name of Oromala here. Okay? Now, I've been talking about this incubus the whole time and confusing him as my counterpart. Now, let's go down these steps again. We got to go all the way back, okay, to the ship when I got captured. However, my capturing was on purpose. Now, I came to get my girls. So, I get captured into the net, and yes, this was fear-invoking even for me. Okay, did not know what to do or how to get out of this net, and all of the energy that I used from the fear got absorbed by Archons. Now they were able to, this net was transformed into a ship. Now, mind you, this Bible is something that is all, and I'm talking about both testaments of it. All the lies, it was already something that was on that ship. Okay, now you have Oromala. You have this incubus who is now parading around as some type of religious figure, some type of motherfucking Orisha. But this Orisha has incarnated onto the earth. We're going to be getting back into Oromala again, because I got to talk about them pacifiers that I seen in his head. I want to talk about that as it pertains to, and this is related to T-Baby. But let's stay on topic for now because we got a lot to unpack. Now, they use this sex as a weapon. Prior to entering into prior to that becoming a ship, I had no body. We do not have physical bodies in the organic reality. Okay? Physical bodies are a feature specifically of being Archons who think that they are something more than what they are. These Archons are responsible for throwing bodies on top of source fractals. They alter the soul energy in order to try to take it out. They want to take out the Most High. They want to take out the Creator. Okay? And this is what this death culture has been about. Okay? I gotta tell you how they do it too. They have been doing it to the young girls. Like I just said, they've been doing this to the younger ones, the ones who don't have much experience, the ones who break off from source and just venture out into the universe, who they capture within those nets. Okay? Now, let's go through this process. We got to go back through the process of myself. I'm using myself as an example. Now, since I knew what I was getting myself into, after they constructed my body, after they did what they did, that surgery, which was painful, okay, they were pulling stuff out of my soul, and then there was like things in the surrounding area that they were pulling stuff in from the surrounding area. Now let's go ahead and do some decrees and declarations. I decree and declare that any and all of my light sparks that got caught up in the midst, that got lost in the midst of every single one of these surgeries, are released, removed, freed, and brought on back home to the mother, the father, and the child. Okay? Now, so after the body was constructed, and of course it is always modeled after the soul energy of the feminine. So the feminine energy is circles and swirls, circles, swirls, and moisture. And so the bodies, the human female bodies, are modeled after that. Okay, so they modeled my body, they molded it, and then here we go. This incubus. Now, they use a portion of that soul energy from that surgery to create this incubus in some way. Okay? So I was ready. I knew what was about to happen, this sex. Okay, which, again, prior to entering into this simulation, there was no such thing as bodies. We do not have sex outside of this simulation. We do not have sex in the organic reality. They took something that was innocent, they took something that was not perverted, and they perverted it. Okay? Now, so I jumped on the dick of this incubus. I motherfucking jumped on that dick. I sure did. And let's just go ahead and do some decrees and declarations surrounding that as well. I decree and declare that any of my light sparks, any of my soul fragments that got lost in the midst of me hopping right up on that dick, and the process, just the whole sex, that process where Orumala initially impregnated me with them black orbs. Okay, that all of my soul fragments that got caught up within the midst of that got lost, be released, removed, freed, and brought on back home to the mother, the father, and the child. Now, mind you, during this sex session on that ship, all of those creatures, those Archons, were surrounded. Now, at this time, the Archons had sort of shapeshifted into other forms. So it wasn't them that I was seeing, but I did get a glimpse of them as they were performing the surgery, which I'm going to be coming back and talking about what they look like. Okay? But, they were watching. Now, the Archons, see, they created the chakras too. They didn't create them, but the chakras were particularly important to the construction of the human body, because this is how we fell down the body and fell down the levels, and how they depleted the energy at each level. Okay, so starting out with the crown. After this initial sex session on that ship where Orumula impregnated me, okay, and that was the initial increment of the black orbs that entered into my body, which didn't really have, it didn't stick. It didn't stick. Not like that, but we dropped down into the crown chakra, where I'm light still. I'm light, but my light had been defiled by that sex session. I had become impure by that sex session on that ship and them black orbs, which again, these individuals in this draconian society for which Orumula is a part of, they are the carriers of these black orbs, which converts into illnesses, viruses, diseases. And the black orbs, a better way to describe them is reptilian DNA. Okay. So we dropped down into the crown, where I began to give birth to the whole universe, the whole entire universe. And I'm talking about the planets and the stars and, all of the matter and all of the beings, which again was just at that time souls. But see, we had some of them that had been contaminated with with the black orbs. These were those draconian, the draconian society. They still had to come through me. Okay, they had to come through me. Now, at this time, I was when I was birthing these creatures, I was realizing that some of them were off. Now, what you have down here right now is almost like a melting pot. You have these individuals with mostly draconian DNA. Then you have individuals that are mostly sold, but you still have, it's like a mixture. It's a mixture. Okay? That's what you have here now, down here now. So, then we move on down into the lifetime where I was the ruler of all rulers. But first, let me go ahead and say some decrees and declaration. I decree and declare that any and all of my light sparks, any soul fragments that got lost during my time as the celestial body up there in the crown, giving birth to it all, and all of my light sparks and soul fragments are released, removed, freed, and brought on back home to the mother, the father, and the child. Oh, excuse me. Okay. Then we drop on down to into the third eye, where I was the ruler. Now, this is where the drama picks up. This is where I become the ruler of my creation, which is not this world, but the world at that time. Because, again, these worlds within the chakras are all different. These earths are not the same earths. But I became the ruler over my birthing, over my creation, and rightly so. But then... and Orumula was right there with me because of the veil, the illusion that was pulled over my eyes, that this was my counterpart, my divine counterpart, when this was just, girl, I'm hearing that's just my baby daddy. But I'm disgusted by it. Okay? So Orumla was there with me, okay? He had assumed the form of a giant along with me just because of the light sparks that he had been able to collect for himself. Okay, I guess he put him a little stash to the side, and he was formed. He formed himself as a giant to match me. He was also an eagle. We were also eagles, and we had the ability to fly. But excuse me. Then all of a sudden, you had these creatures, which is them draconian individuals, swooping on down into into that. Now at this time, this was Lemuria. Now I was confused at first, thinking that it was Atlantis, but no, this was Lemuria. Now you had these creatures that came on down and swooped down. Now these were some weird looking creatures. Back at this time, it was much different. The air was more malleable. It was much more higher vibrational. It was less physical, less concrete, less 3D. So you had these different kinds of creatures that swooped right on in, okay, in an effort to invade. Okay, now mind you, this is sort of like the same creatures that from that ship. On that ship, you have this reptile king, you have octopussy, who are the same, they just shapeshift, a shapeshifted version. Okay, now at this time, when that happened, a lot of stuff happened. Now we had something that was called the world stage at that time as well, and this is where Orumla was up on that stage, and again, he was on his tippy toes, fucking an octopus. And like I said, this octopus was personified though. The bitch had human features, but it was really just this reptile king that shape shifted into the octopussy. And there's also something about Orumla being the prince. The reptile prince under the reptile, that's the son of this. So it was the incest for me, and he up on that stage on his tippy toes, fucking an octopus. And again, the mechanism of her pussy was such that Orumla was on his tippy toes, and he was in a constant state of orgasm. Okay, as the bitch pussy was spinning around. Now this brings on a new meaning to spinning on the dick. Bitch, that bitch pussy was spinning. Okay, that was some dark magic pussy. But again, this was the reptile king. This was shape shifted into that. But let's talk about the black orbs. Now, all the while, Orumla up on his tippy toes, fucking that bitch, and didn't have no rhythm at all. Now, let's go ahead and say some declarations around that, because I was embarrassed and I was humiliated that Orumla was up on that stage, fucking that bitch like that on his tippy toes, and didn't even have no rhythm while he was fucking her. I decree and declare that this is a long one, that any and all of my light sparks and soul fragments that got caught up or that got lost within the midst of Orumla being up on that stage, fucking the reptile king, shape-shifted into octopussy, released, removed, and brought on back home to myself, the mother, the father, and the child. Okay? Now, I was so humiliated by this that I got real mad. I got to raging, and at this time my power was... See, you couldn't even explain my power at this time. Like, I could do absolutely anything. And that's because I had not been fooled up with orbs yet, or the orbs had not gotten to that degree yet. But see, these orbs would be leading up now to what now we call AIDS. Okay? It would be leading up to all of these sicknesses and the colds and the viruses that are here now, which are not natural. Now, I'm going to try to make this a little shorter because this seems like it's going to be long. Okay? And that sex and how that sex was used as a weapon. I got to tell you, that the bitch pussy was dripping. So this Aruna on that stage fucking her, and the pussy was dripping. Now this was a mixture of Aruna semen mixed with the toxicity of that bitch's pussy. Okay, and them fucking um and damn. Ooh. Now, and them toxins from that pussy getting into his pee hole, even though it really didn't matter because Oruna was already infected with the black orbs before that. But see, that sex session up on that stage also reflects the session that happened on the ship, because it happened on the ship as well with them fucking. Which would then be the cause of that rape, which was all the way down in the sacral, where Orunmila transformed mid-sex into some beast, where the spikes came out of that dick and pierced my walls. Now this is how the black orbs were able to enter into my body at that time, and the orbs were living. I'm getting that sexing, or that sex where Aruna was fucking that motherfucking octopus. Those were her churn, those black orbs that were entering into my body at that time, which would then, see, I'm getting too ahead of myself. Let me just simmer down. Okay, let's stay on topic. But we're gonna get there. So, and at this level, there was a rape as well. There was a rape at the level of the third eye, where, no, again, okay, so let's go back to how mad I was, how angry I was, and let's call our energy back from that. I decree and declare that any of my energy, light sparks and soul fragments that got caught up within the midst of that anger and that rage and that humiliation, be released, freed, and brought on back home to the mother, the father, and the child, which is none other than myself. And again, at that time, I could do absolutely anything. I could just fly. I could transform down from a giant into a regular size. I could I had like a wand, I think. There was a wand. I'm seeing myself use a wand to dispel light sparks. I would dispel light sparks from my wand. Now, I was so angry and mad and raging that I started to use my magic in a very, I shouldn't have used my magic in that way. Okay? I was unhinged. I was mad. Okay? And see, this is what had allowed for this reptile king and or octopussy, the same creature, to absorb that magic. Now let's decree and declare. I decree and declare that any and all of my light sparks that got caught up within the midst of that absorption from the reptile king, shape shifted into octopussy, be removed, released, and brought on back home to the mother, the father, and the child, which is none other than myself. Give me my shit back. Nah, this is permanent and cannot be altered across all realms, timelines, and dimensions. Okay? So the whole while I'm being weakened. Now mind you, this brotherhood is not there yet. They had not showed up. But at this time, I'm being weakened. My light sparks are being absorbed by this octopussy bitch, which is really just a reptile king. He putting on a show. He putting on shows and stunts in front of this audience, which is just this draconian society. A whole bunch of motherfucking nobodies. A whole bunch of motherfucking people who don't love themselves, who don't value themselves, who are unworthy. I guess that's why they like death culture, because they feel unworthy on the inside. There's emptiness on the inside of these draconian creatures. Okay. Now, also we have the raping. So after this, there some sort of chaos ensued where it was just chaotic, and I'm seeing the landscape. Okay, I'm seeing the landscape at this time. It's mountainous. I'm seeing a bunch of dirt. I'm seeing a bunch of things of this nature. And this chaos that ensued after what happened on that world stage. See, I tell you, these people are chaotic. They thrive, but they don't thrive. They annihilate themselves. They cause death to themselves. Okay? Now, during this chaos, there was a raping. Orunmila raped me. Okay, and he transformed and shape-shifted into a giant praying mantis. And I was raped. I'm seeing myself on like some sort of landscape. I'm seeing a creek, like a creek. I am seeing trees around that creek. Here's where we have black orbs entering into me during this rape. And I lost a considerable amount of power, although I didn't really lose too much, but I lost a considerable amount of light sparks. Now let's go ahead and call our light sparks back, baby. I decree and declare that any of my light sparks, any and all of my light sparks, and soul fragments that got lost within the midst of that raping up in the third eye, where Orunmila shapeshifted into that praying menace, are released, removed, freed, and brought on back home to myself, the mother, the father, and the child. Okay. So let's move on down to the throat, and this is where I become the goddess Lilith. That old beautiful thing, stunning and gorgeous, and just hated by women. Hated, beloved by men. All the men wanted her. She had all the men at their feet, willing to do anything for her, and that's because of her attitude. Because she did not need a man. She most surely did not place a man above her. She knew who she was. She knew her worth. She knew her value. Okay, but see, here we have. This is where okay, I'm not gonna tell the full story, because at first Lilith is a mermaid. Okay, and she's being hassled by this creature who keeps coming up to her, hassling her about switching out her fins for legs. And I might just go ahead and tell the whole story again, but I'm just gonna have to split it up in parts, because I'm calling my fragments back from each spot. I'm going to have to call my light sparks back from this, because this was traumatic. Losing my fin and switching them for legs, I lost a lot of beauty just by that alone. And I lost power from that. You know, I was up in that ocean, and other than this creature who kept hassling me, I was unbothered. Okay? I decree and declare that any and all of my light sparks, my energy, and my soul fragments that got caught up within the midst of myself switching my fin for legs be released removed and brought back home to the mother, the father, and the child, which is none other than myself. Bitch, you better know it. So, since I'm going to go ahead through and tell the whole story, I'm going to have to just cut this off because it's going to be too long. So, expect a part 2 and maybe a part 3. Thank you. Bye-bye.